The COVID-19 pandemic took us by surprise and unprepared for all of us. This brought several problems with it, such as the economy went down, several businesses had to close. In addition to that, several companies as a strategy to lay them up economically. They decided to fire their employees and many people were out of work for a regular period of time. The big problem that arose is that everyone had to stay locked up at home in confinement. The most affected by this were the students and the worker science due to the quarantine imposed by the government. They could not leave home. This caused academic students to be stopped in a certain way for a short time. In the next video, I will talk about the importance of technology in the pandemic. At the beginning, it was very difficult to adapt to the methods that the teachers used to continue receiving classes. After a few days, it was decided that the educational day would continue virtually. This brought several problems since not all the students had internet or a good sign due to the place where they live. With the classes taking place virtually, it was necessary to use various tools and thanks to technology it was possible to archive it. WhatsApp was the main one to be used mainly to communicate with teachers about that activities were going to be done. Groups of all subjects were created and the works were sent through this tool. But there came a point when there were so many works to receive that teachers found it difficult to follow this method. In order to receive classes, the Zoom tool was used, which is a platform to make video calls, chat and receive classes easily and quickly. From the beginning it felt different and it was not very comfortable to receive classes in this way. He got used to receiving classes through this application and people gradually adapted. Another tool that was used was Google Meet, which like Zoom is a platform for video conference, except that it had the capacity to allow 16 people in a single meeting. It could also share the computer screen so that teachers they could give the classes better. From that day to the present, this application is still used to hold meetings professionally and efficiently. At the beginning, I mentioned that WhatsApp was used to send the assessment that the teachers left, but this was very complicated for them. So they looked for an option to send the assessment. And the application that was used and continues to be used to this day is Google Classroom. This is a free educational web service developed by Google. Classroom is used in schools to streamline task management and to improve collaboration and communication. Classroom is available on the web or as mobile app. You can use Classroom in your school to streamline assessment management and to improve collaboration and communication. You can use Classroom with many tools you already use like Gmail, Google Docs, and Google Calendar. It is worth mentioning that this method was applied in basic and intermediate studies, and in university it was a little different, but it's not far from what it was in the basic and intermediate levels. In the university, at the beginning, classes were received virtually and the works were sent through the platform that the university itself gave to the students. With the passage of the time, it was declared that the classes would continue in a semi-face-to-face and face-to-face manner in all the educational centers, but even with this, the aforementioned tools were still used. For example, in some schools or institutions, there went in groups to study, and due to this, it was necessary to meet or classroom to be able to receive classes. In the case of people who managed to keep their jobs and continue to work, these applications were also used, especially WhatsApp and Google Meet. There were also several job opportunities to do it from the comfort of home. For example, working in a consultant site, it was not necessary to be in a place to get a good salary, and today most jobs have returned to the normal with people giving their best effort to be able to support for families. This situation, being confined to the house, brought with it a series of advantages and disadvantages. The advantages were you didn't have to leave home to continue studying or working. Being at home and having internet access, it was not necessary to leave the house to continue studying or working, since you had great internet access to continue doing your job and you were also safer. You were safer and you were not at risk of getting infected. By studying or working from home, you did not have to leave it in the before you could not get infected with the virus. This was a fear since you could not get infected and bring the virus home, infecting your family. In a way, you can concentrate more when studying. By not being in the classroom, the students could concentrate better to do their activities and they didn't not bother them so much in class. However, the situation of being in confinement and working virtual brought some disadvantages, which are there was no academic learning. Teaching virtually was a safe way to continue studying, but by working for so long in this way, students hardly learn this because teaching in a classroom is not the same as being in front of the phone or the computer listening to what says the teacher. You were distracted at any time. When using the phone or computer to learn, the students were very easily distracted by this device, either because they didn't pay attention to the classes or on the contrary they were present in it but did something else such as playing or watching the networks. Students accommodated to work online. During the short time that work was done in this way, all the students became too comfortable with it. This has consequences when it came to returning to face-to-face classes, since with the students accommodated to work from home and on many occasions facing the subject with poor copy. It was difficult for them to adjust back to how they were before the pandemic. To end the pandemic, it brought many changes that we had to get used to from one day to the next, and because of this, the entire world population had to resort to staying at home more than they did before. In addition, COVID-19 forced us to follow sanitary measures that we didn't do before, such as wearing the mask all the time, staying at certain distance from other people, using gel alcohol whenever possible, and not being in a large group of people. Currently, the COVID is still affecting, but not as it did at the beginning. We are almost returning to the normal as we were before. Even the use of the mask is already optional for those people who want to take care of themselves. And all the companies, educational centers, etc., they are going back to how it was before. Thank you.